onward with the Lake tutorial videos for Personal Lake Lab. Now we're going to configure the other speakers we've got in the mains together. So let's do that. Back to Lake. And we need another frame, another amplifier. I'm going to go exit store recall here. I'm in home, and now I'm going to go to modules. And I need to get another virtual frame out. So we're going to use the same exact amplifier we had a moment ago. Another PLM 5K 44, bring it in, drop it in the workspace. And let's name this. The instruction give very specific examples how to name it. We want to name that frame. So in order to do that, we're going to go into label and lock. We'll name that frame. Label name, it's going to be AMP2. And I may be doing this somewhat wrong, I don't know, but it's sub fill. You don't have a lot of characters, so these will be our sub and fills amp. And so now the frame is labeled. And we're going to label the modules. We got 2 subs and 2 mains. So let's go ahead and do that. Label the modules. This is going to be left sub. And next to it, of course, is going to be right sub. Labeling module again. Right sub. Hit OK. And this is going to be our infill, our in front fills. So label module. We'll call it infills. And we'll have some outfills. So let's label that module as well. Outfills. And with that done, I know I'm probably going to be doing outputs, but I just want to confirm that. Yep. And so let's rearrange it and make the modules look a little bit different on the screen. That's kind of cool. So let's rearrange this sort of like a virtual sound system. So exiting frame label. And to actually manipulate the size of the modules, you got to go to the home screen. And it's called icon control. Oops, I went in and I didn't mean to. Icon control. And you can make the sub a little bigger because it's bigger. You know, I'm going to icon medium, and this one will go to icon medium as well. We'll exit that screen. And we'll go back into modules. You do your dragging around in the module screen. And so let's make a little bit of a PA system. Oh, but that bounced around. Let's make a little bit of a PA system where, why is it bouncing around? Didn't have any problems with that. Let's see if it's going to bounce around for me. There's my mains, my right mains, my right sub. Really doesn't giving me a lot of flexibility here. This is kind of unfortunate. I think this has to do with the way the computer's set up, and it's set up differently than it was when I made the graphics for the instructions. But this is kind of working out here. Will that work for you guys? There we go. So you've got your left mains, your right mains. I wouldn't mind my fills being a little offset here. And so there you go. There's your left main. It's got to be stacked on top of it, huh? There we go. Right mains and our 2 sets of fills. Going back to the instructions, let's make sure we're following along here. And it looks kind of like that. Yours will probably have more screen space than mine. And we need to configure the modules for those subs and mains, and configure the outputs for them. So let's do that. So let's. I'm going to exit. I actually wanted to be in modules, and let's go into the I/O config here and look at our amplifier. And so the frame has got your left sub, your right sub, your infills, and your outfills that use up all 4 channels of the amplifier. We can look at all the outputs at once with the magnifying glass, and it's nothing really to change here. Left sub, right sub is going to come out of 2, infill is going to come out of 3, right sub, outfill is going to come out of 4. Nothing to do there, so we're good with our fills, our outputs. Okay, so exiting I/O config, going back to the instructions, see what's next. We're going to create some groups. So groups are kind of cool because it lets you share mutes and levels and delay and EQ and that kind of thing. So we're going to make 3 groups down the middle for our 3 sections of the PA. It's pretty simple to do this. Let's go back to Lake. And we didn't really leave enough room for our groups, so this is going to be a problem. This has a lot to do with my screen size. You'll have more screen size, so mine's going to look uglier on the screen than yours. But we got to go back to the home screen to make groups. So we'll go group 1. We're going to do main subs, and we'll drop it right there. I'll show you how to do this. It's really pretty simple. Let's label that mains. And including the mains is pretty simple. You hit the toggle assign button while it's still selected. That's key. You got to still select it. If it's deselected, selected, it turns yellow when it's selected. Hit toggle assign and add your 2 mains. Turn toggle assign off. And we're going to have this problem with space here. Let's add another group. Ugh, I got to go back. That's interesting. Groups exit. Groups, that was interesting. I should have been able to do it. Did I miss? Oh, I got to deselect to make a new group. Is that right? Home, did I do something wrong, folks? Groups. Oh, I'm sorry. I just blanked. I got to drag it up. You'll forgive me if this video is not well rehearsed. That is part of the fun, right? Just like you. It's not letting me do that. Let's label it. Group 2 is, of course, going to be subs. And we'll do toggle assign. I'm going to move all these in a moment because I'm not happy at all with how it's fitting on the screen. And we're going to add one more group here. This will be our fills, of course. Label it fills. And you should try to make it look like it looks like in the drawings and the instructions. Toggle assign. There we go. And groups exit. Now we're back in the modules view. No, we are in modules. Now let's try to clean this PA up. I might have to make the subs small because I have reduced screen size here. Otherwise, I'm going to have to drag everything down. I have to leave room here because we're going to have more gear over here in a few minutes. But let's just go with this. Outfills. Whoops. Messed that all up, didn't I? Okay. Fills, and of course, we want the subs above the fills. So now we got our groups right up the middle. So let me demonstrate the groups a little bit. We're going to exit out of modules. And of course now, you know, like before, if you clicked on one of these things, you would go into the processing. Like I'm going to go in, this is the left sub. And if I go home, this is the right main. And all the processing associated with the right main. If you go into click one of the groups, you see the groups EQ. So I could add treble to just the group of the mains. Do note that not all parameters of processing are available in the groups. It only does the input processing. What exactly is that? If I go back out here, I select a channel, go into modules, go into IO config. Input processing is this stage of a contour module. Groups do not let you tweak the crossovers and outputs. Okay, so going back home, we'll deal with the processing later. But one thing we should do is at least I can show you nested muting. Everything is red right now because it's muted, and I can go mute the mains levels. Let's go mute the. I went into the wrong thing here, didn't I? Well, it's interesting. I can. So let's mute the lows and mute the highs in the mains. And you can indicate those two red dots there indicate that it is muted. And let's try to unmute. And I'm still muted on the originals. And that's because you can be muted at both levels. To really achieve a mute-unmute situation from the group, we have to unmute at the module. So let's do that. Let's go mute the input, go home, go to the right main, unmute the input. And now I can, with this mains mute, I can mute the group and everybody will mute. So this gives us a one-button mute for all the mains. See what's going on here? So to make that happen, let's go back, let's mute the mains. Let's set up the same scenario with the subs. I got to go into the individual subs, unmute the left side, go to the individual sub, unmute the right side. Now when I go into the subs group, I can mute it, and they will both be muted and controlled. So we'll do the same thing with the fills. Fills, unmute the left fill. I'm sorry, it's the infill. Unmute the outfills, and now, of course, mute the fills. And we have got remote control muting going on with our groups. So that's pretty cool. I think I've reached the end of this particular video. Let me go back. We have gone through, we have made our, yep, that's exactly where we want to be. It looks like I'd left the system unmuted there. It doesn't matter if it's muted or unmuted. It's a good time to save, just as a reminder how to do that. I will go back to Lake. I will go home, which I already was. System store recall, store system. We'll save on top of it again, personal.eric. And are you ready? I'm ready. And this will be a good time to end the video. And we'll move on with another video in a moment.